Hello and welcome to this third installment of my Vatsim tutorials. In the two previous episodes I have showed you how to set up your FSInn client properly and how to plan your route and send in a valid flight plan. In this episode I thought I would take some time and just talk about how you best can prepare for your first flight on Vatsim. Many sim pilots find the transition to Vatsim to be an insurmountable hindrance because Vatsim takes the motto "as real as it gets" to a new level in our flight simming hobby. If you feel shaken by the thought of flying online on Vatsim, let me just reassure you that there is not a single pilot or ATC online there that hasn't been a newbie at one point. We all have to start somewhere. If what is stopping you is lack of skills and knowledge, then you're in no trouble at all. Those things can and will be learned. Even though many people on Vatsim take their stuff seriously and try hard to simulate real world as closely as possible, Vatsim does have a newbie-friendly charter rule. New flight simmers are always welcome to Vatsim, and you will be welcome too. Now I'm not saying that you should just log on and act foolishly or ignore every rule in the book. In fact, this is the third tutorial, and everything up until now has just been focused on preparing for going online. In fact, the next episode will also be focused on preparing the charts. You should be as prepared as you can for your first flight. I will link some valuable information for Vatsim in the description, and you would do well to read it. When flying online, you should be comfortable with the aircraft you're flying. Handling both ATC procedures that are new to you and flight mechanics that are unfamiliar to you at the same time will probably make your first flight quite unenjoyable. If you're unfamiliar with your FMC and its capabilities, you should probably spend some more time reading and practicing with the supplied add-on tutorial PDFs. Now, with all these things out of the way, my most important advice to you is always have a pen and paper at hand. Always. Use the autopilot as soon as you can after takeoff so you can concentrate on comms and instructions without worrying to crash your aircraft from neglecting to fly. Now let me just explain some basic rules on Vatsim and how the various controller stations are laid out. You have 5 levels of ATC stations. These are delivery, ground, tower, approach and departure, and center station. In Europe you also have something called Euro FIS, which is a flight information service covering flight level 225 and up. It's a substitute for a center station and is not relevant if a center controller is online. Not all airports have a delivery or ground station, but most have a tower station. Some airports do, however, have something called Flight Information Service instead of a tower, but they do not have the actual tower authority. They cannot clear you to take off, and they can't clear you to land. They can only inform you whether the runway is clear or not, and give you other relevant traffic information. But it is the captain, meaning you, that has to make the decision to land or not. Those FIS stations are not common, however. I just thought I'd add it as a curious tidbit of information. The ATC station I just mentioned are strictly ranked in a hierarchy. A delivery station can never clear you to taxi, and a ground station can never clear you to take off or land. A tower controller can never give you vectors and only have jurisdiction within its tiny control zone around the airport, mostly stretching upwards to 2,000 to 3,000 feet. So if you're flying online and there's no ATC before the tower at the destination airport, you should not call him up until you're on final approach for the runway. He can't help you until you are anyway. Now, Vatsim is pretty realistic, but Vatsim is also a small community compared to the real-world aviation, and many times you won't find an airspace completely staffed on all positions. Often only the center position in your area is online. What to do? Well, this is a situation that never happens in real life. But on Vatsim, the overlying ATC position has responsibility for all underlying ATC stations that aren't online. meaning that if a tower isn't online, you contact his superior. If approach isn't online either, you contact center. If he isn't online, you can do as you please, and you should tune your radio to 122.80, which is called Unicom, and write your intentions in the chat of COM1. This concludes this episode of my tutorial. If you still feel unnerved by Vatsim, don't worry. You don't know how many simmers who have felt the same way, and now thoroughly enjoy the realism and human factor that Vatsim provides. In the next episode I will briefly cover the relevant charts of our departure and arrival, and show you how Navigraph works. Until next time, happy flying!